Hey darlings. The midday sun generously flooded the half-empty school courtyard with rays. The break had just ended and the few stragglers hurriedly tried to make up for the lost seconds, crowding at the front door in a vain attempt to get in all together and immediately. Leonid Alekseevich, I hope you and I still understand each other. A well-groomed and well-dressed woman of about 35 tried to smile as charmingly as possible at the school director. After all, we are a trio of parents who have a certain circle of communication with our, let's say, conventions. I have nothing against the poor. I even try to participate in various kinds of charitable projects, but a photo shoot was ordered for the matinee, and if we rent a suitable suit for the girl ourselves, we will no longer be able to deal with the image of her mother. How, however, to allow it to appear in the picture? I really hope for your professionalism and delicacy. A narrow, snow-white envelope filled with fresh bills slipped imperceptibly into the director's pocket, and he bowed gallantly to the visitor. Don't worry, everything will be fine. But as soon as the woman turned her back on him, running towards the parked car, the director's eyebrows came together, forming a deep wrinkle. Well, where did you come from in my head? Dissatisfied thoughts swarmed in the head of the director. You see, the mother without prestige is not suitable for them. How can I isolate it? Please tell me. She considers each daughter's matinee almost the main event in her life. And why on earth should the director act as a doorman, allowing only those who have passed strict control into the hotel? Everyone comes into this world naked, barefoot and alone, and leaves here the same. And I have to break this comedy, because you see, they are important people and they sponsor the school. We need to talk to Smirnova more delicately. Damn all those first-generation aristocrats. With a heavy step, he walked to his office. Katya Smirnova's mother was supposed to come today to see her daughter's reference. Marina approached the school almost running. She only managed to escape the office for an hour. It's good that the school is 2 stops away. She can get there in time. She almost climbed the porch steps and ran to the principal's office. Leonid Alekseevich, did I have time? Sorry for being in a hurry, but I barely escaped.
Come in, Smirnova.
I just signed the character reference. The director handed Marina a sheet written in thick letters and added, Sit down for a minute. I'm not going to arrest you. Marina sat obediently on a chair, perplexed. Here's the thing. They expect me to resolve this issue delicately. But it turns out that I don't always know how to be delicate. In general, the situation is as follows. Your trio of parents, who financially support all cool events, and not only them, also want to do a photo shoot of the matinee. And you see, they need an appropriate contingent there. They dress the children in costumes, but some parents, according to their standards, do not accept the style of clothing. And I, an old stump, waiting for them to pay for the computer class, have to ask you to look at this whole ball, like Cinderella, from the window on the other side. The director snapped his fingers loudly in anger, and Marina, turning pale, stood up from her chair. Don't worry so much, Leonid Alekseevich. I understood everything. What can you do? Life now is so unbalanced. I understand that you can't always insist on your own. There will be a video recording, right? The director nodded silently. I'll do everything right. I'll tell Katya that they didn't let me leave work. It's almost true. The boss is opening a new trading floor and everything needs to be cleaned there. Now we are at the end of the year, and next year, you will see, something will change. The director sat tiredly in his chair. Forgive me, old man. I couldn't lie to you beautifully. You are not the type of person, Marina, who writes lying circles in front of you. The woman nodded, raised her clenched fist in an appeal to hold on and not give up, and left the office. Tears persistently welled up in my eyes. The late Boreas stood before her mind, smiling with white teeth and promising, Never go astray, girls. You won't get lost with me. It was really impossible to get lost with him. Boris served as a hunter in a large forestry. He was not afraid of animals, people, or bad weather, he was always cheerful, resourceful, and infinitely reliable. Yes, it was impossible to disappear with him. He himself disappeared, didn't return from the next round. And 3 days later they found his body with a poacher's bullet stuck right in his heart. 200 meters from him, they found the corpse of a roe deer with a deer. The crime had great repercussions. All the local media wrote about the matter, but this did not help with the progress of the investigation. The culprits were never found, and Marina still felt a strong chill at the thought that her husband's killer was probably now living a prosperous life, partying with friends, still participating in illegal hunts, and sleeping peacefully at night. If Boria were alive now, who would dare say that he, worn by the thorny winds, tanned, strong and regal, could not live up to someone there? But with Bori's death, life changed drastically, creating a big rift. I had to urgently look for a job in the city. I couldn't find a decent one, and the cleaning lady at the mall ruins the whole facade for you. Marina arrived at work on time and, in a desperate frenzy, began scrubbing the new floor. Labor productivity, of course, increased from this, but this did not make my soul easier. Ah yes, it seems that Stakhanov's methods are in use here. A mocking voice came from behind Marina. She turned sharply and saw Gennady Petrovich, the owner of the company, who had come to personally check the progress of the work. "Why chew snot?" Marina said sharply, wringing the cloth. "You are giving results ahead of schedule." The boss's gaze became serious and focused. Her life experience was enough to feel that Marina was nervous. "Who offended you?" he asked shortly. "You excused yourself to go to your daughter's school in a completely different mood, I saw." Marina, leaning against the wall, couldn't stand it and, sniffling, told about the blatant injustice at the school. "That's so crazy," and at the same time angry lights lit up in Gennady Petrovich's eyes. "I wonder who these important people are who are embarrassed by my cleaners and what they themselves did in the recent past. Has the matinee started yet?" "It will start in half an hour," replied Marina, still not quite understanding what the boss meant. "Stella?" The secretary immediately picked up the phone. "Stella, didn't you take home the party dress you wore to welcome our companions yesterday?" "Here?" "Wonderful. You rent it for a few hours to one of our employees. She's going in now. In half an hour I will be waiting for you in the car." He turned to Marina. "To be honest, I didn't understand anything," she admitted. "What don't you understand?" The director's eyebrows rose with displeasure. "You and I are going to your daughter's matinee. Take Stella's dress. I really want to see who finds my face unprestigious and whether he dares to say it to my face." "I can't stand snobs," he summed up and walked briskly towards the exit. The matinee had already begun when Marina and Gennady Petrovich, trying not to make noise, carefully entered the hall and sat down in the back rows. The tenacious gaze of the woman who was talking to the director in the morning shot towards them, and her neighbor received a noticeable push with her elbow. "Nika, look at this cheeky girl. She showed up with a guy, and even got an interesting dress somewhere. And this goes against the wishes of the director and our financial aid. How do you understand this?" The blonde girl next to her squinted her myopic eyes. "Wow, with some. Lucian, this is Mila Nikishina's fiancé. We met them at the club last week." "Cool." His interlocutor's eyes widened almost twice. "And what is this groom doing in the ranks of the lumpen proletariat? Do you like contrast? A good goose, nothing can be said. A profitable match and a quiet passion. He managed to do it everywhere." They were silenced by other spectators who didn't want to exchange the children's concert for idle gossip, and their friends had to shut up. And the show, in fact, received a lot of applause, turning into a standing ovation. The children tried hard, and from the performances it was clear that artistic director Maria Andreevna also tried with all her heart. Katia was a miracle, as she looked beautiful in a light pink dress embroidered with sequins, and the old Italian song Felicita, sung in a duet with Pasha Koloskov, was a great success for her. "Mommy, did you like it? Did you really like it?" she asked Marina passionately, fidgeting with the hem of her dress in excitement. "Well, of course, daughter. What doubts can there be?" Marina smiled happily, and Gennady Petrovich briefly summarized. "Queen, let's go to the ice cream shop to celebrate your success. The car is waiting," and under the predatory gazes of Nicky and Lucien, the three of them got into a shiny dark red car, which quickly disappeared around the bend. "It seems like it's time to call the namesake," the one her friend called Lucien in the French way, squinted angrily at them. Marina, upon waking up, was in no hurry to get out of bed, savoring the post-holiday atmosphere that remained from yesterday. The day that started so badly yesterday ended in the best possible way. When she came to work at this trading company, Marina heard more than once from employees that her boss, although strict, was fair and correct. Now she had to see this from experience. Katyushka had a real holiday yesterday. Sitting in a cafe and looking at her daughter's bright eyes, listening to her squeaky voice and watching how she inspiredly smeared herself with chocolate without realizing it, Marina recalled her best days with Boris, and it made her heart ache painfully and sweetly. Gennady Petrovich seemed to take on the role of a good wizard. He joked with Katyushka and everything. After breakfast, I took them home by car. Marina hugged the pillow, savoring the pleasant memories. It's good that today is Saturday, and she doesn't have to go to work, and her daughter doesn't have to go to school. You can continue the celebration a little. But it was not possible to continue the celebration. The doorbell cut through the silence in such an unexpected and demanding way that Marina didn't immediately realize it was her doorbell ringing. Since moving to this city after Boris's death, guests have practically not visited it. And where would they come from here? Did something really happen again? But with whom? Marina got out from under the blanket and, pulling her robe tighter as she walked, ran to open the door, at the same time feeling cold because of unpleasant forebodings. Behind the door was discovered a completely unknown Marina, a rather pretty girl, with an elegant and capricious face, looking at the hostess with disdain and anger. "Well, what did he see in you?" she blurted out without saying hello. "Who?" Marina looked at the guest with empty eyes. "Don't make a fool of yourself here," the girl interrupted her sharply. "Jenka took you and your adopted son to cafes yesterday? You, and you're still playing tricks on me? I know that the rich people in Pinocchio are sometimes attracted to beggars like you, so don't turn your lips too much. Gina is my fiancée, and our wedding is in a month. Therefore, leave calmly, on your own and quickly, otherwise I will turn you into dust. And so that you have no doubt that I am perfectly capable of this, you will receive greetings from his ladyship today. If that's not enough for you, I will show films in other directions." With these words, the stranger bared her teeth in a predatory manner and, pulling the door from her side, slammed it hard, miraculously not hitting Marina in the forehead. The miracles are over. The surprises have begun, thought Marina sadly, going to the bathroom to get in shape under the jets of cold water. The landlady really didn't have to wait. The phone rang as soon as Marina got out of the shower. "Marinaka?" His voice was somewhat embarrassed and tense. "Marinaka, in light of the new circumstances, I am forced to double your rent." Twice. Marina couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You've had, frankly, the lowest price." "My price will remain my price." There was genuine bitterness in the hostess's voice. "I was greedy by not concluding an official rental agreement with you, and now I'm paying for it. I will have to pay half the amount because the tax office will not yet be aware of my additional income. So this bitch will make money from this too." Marina choked on herself, as they say, speechless with indignation. I wonder what would be better, holding on and crying over a failed matinee, or having problems like this now. Marina thought to herself, preparing her daughter's favorite oatmeal with raisins and honey for breakfast. Katushka loved to eat this cold and thick dish, so she had to hurry so as not to let her daughter go hungry. But why now guess what happened? It just happened. Will Gennady Petrovich also understand? Say, as science, that no good deed goes unpunished? Desperate anger was boiling inside. My brain was feverishly searching for a way out of the financial impasse, but there was no way out. Marina already earned 1.5 times her salary, and the salary at the company was decent. She could not find a better-paying job without connections and patronage, and there was nowhere to increase the workload. She was already exhausted to provide Katushka with an education at a good school, hoping to eventually bring her into the public eye. On Monday, the office welcomed Marina with excitement and new hustle and bustle. Gennady Petrovich was gloomy and ran back and forth with a worried look. After all, things got messy and it's all because of me, Marina concluded and tried to quickly leave to clean the warehouse, so as not to remind her boss once again with her appearance of the problems that befell him because of her. I wonder why he's not married yet? He is no longer a boy. Unwanted thoughts involuntarily arose in his head, which was not occupied with mental work. For some reason, the mop and vacuum cleaner didn't clear up my thoughts. Perhaps this is not the first marriage and the young woman is not completely confident in herself. Why wouldn't a poor, young and attractive person run to some cleaning lady to sort things out with her and even weave basic intrigues? Very well here purely. After Barina's death, Marina's search for hidden motives and secret intentions worsened a little, and she could do nothing about it. Thinking like this and holding a mop, Marina almost reached the exit of the warehouse and, deciding to take a break, cast a fleeting glance at the street. The image that greeted her was stunning. Right at the exit was the boss's car, which had already become so familiar, and a recent guest got into it with a very dissatisfied but expertly made-up face. Gennady Petrovich was fiddling with the front door and looked both angry and a little guilty. "Look, I have the burdock plague," said the dissatisfied voice of Lenka's partner behind her. "This infection will not bring the owner any good." "Who is it?" Marina asked, pretending to see the girl for the first time. "Bride, if I may say so," Lenka snorted. "Read between the lines. A stone around your neck? Why is he going to marry her then?" Marina was surprised. So the rich have their own laws. Lenka was clearly well informed by one of the campaign employees. Gennady Petrovich has a business. The parents of this ulcer revolve in the same area. And this pack of vultures sleeps and sees how to make friends with houses and campaigns. Then they will all have a great deal together. Gennady Petrovich doesn't look like a boy who can easily get married like that. Marina shook her head in doubt. That's why they get married, because they don't look like him. They say he was a free bird. Don't give me bread. Let me just go to the mountains with a backpack or along the river in kayaks. His father was in charge of his affairs at that time. And now the father fell ill, tied the heir to this matter, and demands the continuation of the dynasty. They say, enough is enough. I've had enough. It's time to be honored. And because he's afraid his children's vagabond natures will take over, he's found a suitable wife, a companion's daughter. Our father loves him, contradicts the healthy, but no longer dares to do that to the sick. Well, they know that, of course, Marina shrugged. But even now they don't seem like a happy couple, and only God knows what will happen next. From that day on, she purposely avoided her boss to, if possible, be careful of new misunderstandings. Whether long or short, inexorable time has inevitably brought the fateful rent payment day closer. Marina sat for half a day, copying income and expense figures into columns. In all possible combinations and in any scenario, she managed not only a surplus in the family budget, but even broke even. There was still not enough money to pay the full amount. As the search for new housing had not yet yielded results, it was necessary to raise funds to pay for it. Sighing heavily, Marina opened the precious box with a spinning ballerina on the lid. where her treasures were stored. True, they were treasures from a moral point of view. His and Boria's wedding rings, earrings given by Boria on their wedding day, a ring given to him after Katia's birth, and several modest pieces of jewelry from his mother. Marina sighed, and after thinking for a while, she took out her mother's golden drop-shaped pendant. He felt a pleasant cold in his hand that would take him to the pawn shop tomorrow. Nothing, thought Marina. This payment will be enough, and then, you see, cheaper housing will appear and there will be no school expenses during the holidays. I'm going to buy. I will definitely buy it. She tried not to think about how many futile promises were made in such situations, sincerely hoping that her case would be a happy exception. The pawn shop greeted Marina with silence and a kind of sad splendor. Large tropical palm trees were interspersed with figurines, floor vases, miniature chess tables, and other utensils designed to help their owners get out of difficult financial situations. The randomness of the objects and the sad reason for their arrival here prevented us from truly admiring them. There were practically no people. Only a young man stood at the appraiser's counter with a hunting rifle and was trying hard to get as much money as possible for it. This is not money for such a weapon, he fumed. This is not some kind of nonsense, but a real Benelli. Rifled. For a big animal. Yes, they will get it out of you. Don't lower the price like that. The appraiser quietly muttered something under his breath, showing with all his appearance that he still needed to look for a suitable customer for this Benelli, and gave the money right away, not knowing when he would be reimbursed. The fact that he hadn't thrown a penny was visible to the naked eye, and Marina even felt a little sorry for the guy who, like her, had fallen into some nasty financial hole. After about 5 minutes, the guy gave up and started putting slightly crumpled bills placed on the counter by the appraiser into his wallet, muttering through clenched teeth, "Penny pincher, gobsec, robbery in broad daylight." Watching this scene, Marina even doubted whether she should come here with her tiny pendant. But then the doorbell rang and, turning to this sound, instead of moving towards the appraiser, she ran into the shadow of a huge pandanus and hid behind a bathtub, moving a floor vase next to it for safety. She didn't enter the pawn shop premises, but her boss's fiancé literally burst in and in one leap jumped towards the guy who had pawned the gun. "Stas, are you an idiot? Why the hell did I bring you here? Return the money immediately and take the gun back." What kind of girl? It seems that she communicates with everyone only in a state of scandal. I wonder if calm intonations are generally accessible to her, went through Marina's head, trying to get more comfortable in her precarious hiding place. Even if you don't run into things, you'll get into a lot of trouble again. Nowhere. But the guy didn't listen to the woman's screams, shook his head like a stubborn bull, and pulled the girl to talk away from the evaluator, straight to Marina's hiding place. She became completely unbearable. "Milka, don't shout or make a fuss. I urgently need money. I have no other way to get them now." The ancestor blocked all the cards. "Did you want him to give you unlimited use after you hacked the bank client system and almost completely ruined our company, taking crazy money from there?" "What should I do?" the guy replied. "You scream too much because you don't know what it's like to be on the counter, and I miraculously escaped death." "Oh, should I feel sorry for you too, darling?" Mila's voice, filled with suppressed anger, began to sound like some sort of explosive mixture of hissing and hissing. Or maybe the baby should have played less and not gotten lost. "The 9? Did your baby need money? Did the girl forget that her gun was damaged and could land her in prison for many years? Well, give me this money yourself. Are you a sister, or what? Now, if I don't make the first payment, I can start ringing the meter again. Precisely because I'm your sister, my father controls my expenses. Can't you wait a week? In a week, I will already be my husband's wife. I will at least be able to manage something." "I can't. I need money today." Stas did not give up. "Apparently, you lost your mind when, instead of getting a fine, you failed the hunter. But at least you were smart enough to hide the gun, and now you're pulling it out into the open at the most inopportune moment. Okay, don't you feel sorry for yourself? Do you also want to kill your entire family? If everything comes out now, the elder Muromov can easily change his mind about marrying his son to me. You know him. He has principles. And who will save the sinking ship of the Nikishin family company? You? You just let it sink in. And for the sake of my family, I agree to put up with this mattress by my side all my life. And now you're going to put everything at risk. You have to look for the good in everything. Stas was furious and began to openly mock his sister. You don't have to lie with a mattress on mattresses. You'll think you're a macho man. And he laughed, imagining such a situation. So, I understand. Everything is useless. You have already taken your cocaine, Mila replied angrily and hopelessly and turning sharply, headed towards the exit. Stas, waiting until she was out of sight, followed her. Marina sat on the floor behind the bathtub, completely stunned and as if paralyzed by what had happened. Somewhere in the depths of her consciousness, the thought had already formed that she seemed to have come completely unexpectedly closer to the solution to Boria's death, but the fear she experienced and the complete surprise at the information that had fallen they didn't give him the opportunity to even move. Is everything really so disastrously simple in this world? A player for whom the idea that the money he so desperately needs to play will go towards paying a fine is so terrifying that the natural human fear of murder pales before it. How is that possible? Oh yes, he is also a drug addict. That explains a lot. And because of all this dirt, your Boria died? The slightly dulled pain exploded with renewed vigor, destroying the heart and clouding the brain. Marina placed her burning forehead against the cold side of the toilet. The evaluator went to the back room and realized it was time to come out of hiding. My legs were difficult to control and my hands were shaking, but I still managed to escape into the street without being noticed. Walking with difficulty to the nearest square, Marina bought a bottle of cold mineral water and sat down on a bench. The cold water refreshed her, and the decision came spontaneously. The number of the investigator responsible for Boris's case was still saved on the phone. With mischievous fingers, Marina found him in her contact list and sent him a call. Nobody answered the call. The beeps were long and drawn out, like an endless wait for justice to triumph. Finally, a second before the end of the call, the phone was answered and a monotonous and infinitely tired male voice answered in a hoarse voice. I'm listening to you. Vitaly Pavlovich? Marina's voice also sounded tired and somehow hooked. This is Marina Smirnova. 2 years ago, you handled the case of my husband, Boris Smirnov, who was killed on the reservation. Vel. Which is? Vitaly Pavlovich, of course. I have no right to say anything without a ballistic examination, but most likely the weapon that was used to kill Boris was just handed over to a pawn shop. I heard the conversation. Address? A brief question was asked and Marina realized that the justice machine was ready to turn in a second circle. After providing the address of the pawn shop, she returned home, as if half asleep, even prepared dinner and read The Adventures of Tom Sawyer with Katyusha, but as soon as she put her daughter to bed, she laid her head on the pillow. She immediately fell into a deep, heavy, dreamless sleep. She heard the alarm clock with difficulty and, after hurriedly eating breakfast, went to work very excited. In front of the company gate was Gennady Petrovich's car, from which he took out a box of champagne, mineral water, and several bottles of whiskey. He's getting ready for the wedding, Marina automatically noted to herself. Apparently, she's going to celebrate in the office too. And then suddenly stopped. What to do? She now knows something he doesn't even know. To say? Would he want to listen to her? Maybe he loves that kinky bitch of his, Mila? She already caused Marina big problems once and doesn't want to get into trouble anymore. Furthermore, if your brother's crime story comes to light now, the marriage could be disrupted in itself. What if he doesn't get upset? Or will they be able to get married before everything that is secret becomes clear? Although, what does she really care about this complete stranger to her? At this moment, Marina felt a slight pang of conscience. This stranger recently gave up everything he was doing, exposed himself to the reproaches of his fiancée, to give her and Katyusha a vacation, also complete strangers to him. And now there is a direct threat to your well-being, as well as your personal happiness. The fact that for Mila he is just a walking wallet is clear as too. On the other hand, in these business calculations there may be some nuances that are completely unknown to you, a mere mortal. Marina was about to go her own way, but then Gennady Petrovich noticed her. "Good afternoon, and I wanted to know if you were sick? You haven't been seen lately," he smiled at Marina. "I'm in the warehouse more and more now," Marina answered and, unexpectedly for herself, blurted out, "Gennady Petrovich, give me your word that if you are completely unnecessary and uninterested in what I tell you, you will not kick me take off work and tell someone about it." "It sounds intriguing." Gennady Petrovich became serious. "Well, if this information is really important, I will try to make sure that your passing it on to me does not cause you any harm." "Important?" Marina met her boss's gaze. "I'm just not sure if it's any of my business." "Well, then let's go to the office and decide there." Gennady Petrovich opened the office door for Marina. Like a butterfly that flew into the office, its wings flapped against the window glass, but Marina didn't dare move to help her. Gennady Petrovich sat opposite, drawing intricate figures on a piece of paper. After finishing Marina's story, he stayed like that for about 30 minutes, without lifting his head and already painting the 5th or 6th page. The pause had been going on for a long time, and Marina didn't know how to interrupt it. Finally, she decided, "Let's release it." "Who?" Gennady Petrovich raised incomprehensible eyes at her. "A butterfly," Marina simply smiled, "has been knocking on the glass for a long time. It's a shame. He is also a creature of God. Let him fly." The boss suddenly and somehow completely childishly smiled and went to the window, opening the shutters. "Well, I'll go. I already have a lot of absenteeism today," Marina hurried, moving a chair to the director's table. "Thank you, Marina." Gennady Petrovich looked openly and directly, but the pain of disappointment from the recent discoveries splashed deep in his eyes. "I will never forget your courageous act." What it was. Marina waved her hand in embarrassment and ran towards the exit. A few weeks later, the heavy doors of the district court opened, releasing a focused and serious Marina onto the street. A dark red car was waiting for her at the door. "Well, was the verdict passed?" asked Gennady Petrovich, who was sitting at the wheel. "Yes. The ballistic examination is a stubborn thing," Marina nodded. "The defense had no worthy arguments." "Well, then I invite you." Mischievous sparks tried to break out in Gennady Petrovich's serious gaze. "For a restaurant?" Marina tried to guess. "Worse. To the registry office," replied the chief without any smile. "I have been preparing to go to this institution for so long that I fear I will not be able to do it again." "Won't they be embarrassed by the bride's change so suddenly in the declaration of the second take?" Marina couldn't resist the irony. "Do not think. And if this confuses you, I will try to explain clearly that I now know all the best brands of hunting rifles," replied Gennady with an important look.